Nier Automata has certainly propelled the Drakengard series into the mainstream. Well, I say propelled, but it's more akin to those pieces of a rocket that fall off when it's trying to escape the atmosphere. The rover's definitely gonna get to the moon, but no one's really gonna talk about the shuttle pieces. And now all eyes are on the game's director Yoko Taro, and what exactly he'll do next going forward. Currently, he's nestling himself comfortably in the mobile space, and I use the word comfortably with the biggest air quotes available on Adobe Premiere, with a lot of his attention devoted to Sinnoh Alice, which explores a lot of the fairy tale themes that were very present in the first Nier game. Or at least I think that's what it's about. I haven't played it, and neither have you. But this wasn't Yoko's first venture into the mobile space. So let's jump back to the archaic times of 2012. Back when Yoko's mask was two-dimensional, and he was making weird games for weird people. And Square low-key decided to put him on the creative director's position of a title called Demon Score. Demon Score was a fun little rhythm game that was developed by Ennis Corporation, who was well known for making fun rhythm games, such as Guitar Man and Elite Beat Agents. And sitting right at the top of the director's position was Hidehiro Tamba, but his co-director was Yoko Taro. Now, Yoko's role as creative director could mean a whole slew of things. Sometimes he keeps track of the visuals, while other times he supervises the story. Hidehiro was credited for directing while also writing the screenplay, and Yoko was merely credited as co-director. However, Hidehiro's main profession is a musician, a guitarist for a band, and based off of his professional history, he doesn't seem to have experience making a game, so this is a first for him. So I'm guessing after Hidehiro basically finished the script, Square had Yoko come by and touch things up just a bit. However, that's just speculation on my part, as information on this game is very scarce and it's hard to actually get hard details from people, because neither Yoko, Hidehiro, Ennis executive producer Keiji Yano, or anyone at Square ever talk about this game. And we'll get into that later. Right now, let's delve into this ass-tapping adventure of Demon Score. The game is about a young college girl named Serenity heading to Salem State Hospital and Asylum to find her father, Dr. Alistair. Suddenly, she meets a talking teddy bear named David, claiming to be a human and an associate to her father. Before the two could chat further, the asylum is immediately overrun by demons, and David tosses Serenity a gun and tells her to go nuts. With this newfound power in hand, the duo set off into the asylum to save Serenity's father. Now, I'm going to attribute a lot of this story setup to Hidehiro because he's credited as writing the screenplay, but everything on top of that, character, stylization, and tone, I'm going to assume is the work of Yoko. And as far as setups go, this is an interesting spin on a typical concept. A young girl venturing into the dangerous unknown to save her loved one isn't that original, especially to a Western audience. But the overall draw of the scenario has a certain flavor to it. Right off the bat, the leads have an interesting chemistry. Serenity has a relatable motive, innocent enough without being too much of a pushover. David is the cute and adorable sidekick that makes the funny observations, but is a consistent source of information to Serenity throughout the plot and is the only helpful thing in this madhouse. David never comes off as annoying. Overbearing maybe, but not really crosses the line of being obnoxious. They do appear as two people that require each other to survive, since Serenity has no idea what's going on and David is damn near helpless in his current form. At times, there are parts of this script that feel very familiar to Yoko's other works. The main protagonist coming across a magical sentient item that allows them to use magic and shoot projectiles sounds very reminiscent to the two main leads of Nier, while the comedic angle that the game is going for is very similar to Drakengard 3 in tone. As a matter of fact, since Drakengard 3 was the next game Yoko made, his collaboration in this game probably inspired him to add humorous elements in the upcoming title. The difference here is that while the humor in Drakengard 3 was somewhat distracting, Demon Score's comedy, wow that's really hard to say, feels a lot more built in, and it's definitely not asking you to take itself too seriously. Drakengard 3's problem was that it was full of crude humor that overstayed its welcome too fast in a narrative that tried to be deep. Demon Score was already meant to be a silly and fun game, not really worried about being all that deep or original for that matter. So both of these games were a big learning experience for Yoko in terms of humor, and we can be thankful because Nier Automata has a lot of comedy in it and it's one of the deepest gaming experiences on the market.
Hypothesis. Garbage.
Anyway, back to our story. So Serenity and David go through a tutorial and then fly through a hallway full of sperm demons. I wish I was joking about that. Then they come across the first boss in the game, Asmodeus, a trash-talking archdemon who just popped out of the portal of hell.
Bring it on! I'm gonna slap you 10 shades of silly.
Serenity defeats Asmodeus and adds his soul to the demon's score. This allows Serenity to be possessed by demons she's defeated and use their power, which basically just amounts to having different music for the pre-boss hallway, but what's interesting is that not only will Serenity's appearance change, but so will her voice, not only in gameplay but in cutscene as well.
Oh yeah, this is some serious power!
And it's not just a simple line-for-line redub. Although the character is still Serenity, it is the demon's power that is influencing her personality. So your dialogue is going to be different depending on which demon you're going to be playing as. And that's definitely a YokoTaro decision, since auditory dissonance is kind of a long-running thing in his games.
I'm not going to stop until I've saved my dad!
What'd you expect? I can't be beat.
The duo moves on to fight more penis monsters until they reach this happy fellow.
What now?
Groovy, man! Soul Demon!
Tone Setter. This is Belial, the Demon Lord of Funk. And damn, that girl got some moves.
Let's get this party started!
So after dancing all night, Serenity defeats Belial and absorbs him into the demon score, allowing her to transform her into— Good lord!
Aurora Borealis?
God damn it, Japan. Another soul added to the demon score causes Serenity's phone to glow. This is in response to the gateway to hell widening, and David lets it slip that Serenity's father was experimenting with demonic power, implying that there's a connection. However, he shrugs off her concerns and leads her further into the asylum. Next level, fight off more spermoids and make it to the next archdemon, Eligos. And I really like this guy. He actually has a classy design for the type of demon he's trying to portray. He's also the only enemy that speaks in musical terminology in this game that's about understanding a musical sheet.
Moderato, andante, prestissimo.
However, I probably only like him because out of all of the bosses, he's the only humanoid looking. I mean, considering all that, it sounds like this guy should be a little bit more important to the plot and not just coasting at the 30% mark.
Now die and become part of my latest work.
Anyway, Serenity makes Eligos cry like a little bitch and adds him to the cloud deck. And it's here where Serenity starts asking David some questions, like how does he know her father? He claims to have been working with Dr. Alistair for a long time, but Serenity claims to have never heard her father talk about any assistance. David was the one who approached the doctor with an ancient book filled with musical scores composed by a demon. A demon score, if you will. It's music that allows the user to summon and control demons, as well as open a portal to hell. Dr. Alistair was helping David decode the book, but then David's soul was blasted out of his body and landed in a teddy bear. There's more to the story, but David is obviously keeping secrets. With New Glamour at our disposal, we move on to the next level where we fight off more spunk and meet the next boss, and it's at this point the overarching plot just kinda stops until later, with each level being a showcase of various archdemons with different genres of music. So let's just hit the lightning round on this. I'm just going to say their name and gimmick and you can pretty much guess what their genre music is and what exactly the music sounds like. Azazel, Luchador, Barith, Ninja, Dantelion, Gamer, Beelzebub, Idol, Lilith, Iron Maiden. Okay, that one's actually a little bit more complex.
Fallen from grace, good tidings twisted, paradise lost.
Just before we enter the medical wing, Serenity makes a shocking discovery. A bed with her name on it.
I don't get it. What's my name doing here?
We come to the penultimate boss, Astaroth, who, after a flashy entrance, appears to recognize David when confronted. However, David claims to have never met her before. Astaroth also seems to be aware of Serenity's demonic power. During the boss fight, Serenity unlocks a new power that allows her to overcome her opponent and completely destroy her. But not the soul, she needs the soul. With a new addition to the demon score, Serenity receives a message on her phone from her dad. Memories start flowing back to Serenity's head, causing her to recognize the asylum as the place that she was born.
This is where I was born.
Finally, reaching the gateway, Serenity vows to save her father and comes face to face with the demon of all demons, Satan, in a cocoon state.
My name is Satan.
During the battle, Serenity manages to open the shell of the cocoon, revealing Dr. Alistair fused with the innards of the demon. And in an almost touching scene, Serenity tries to free him, but Alistair asks instead to be taken down along with the demon. He says his goodbyes to Serenity, and Satan's full form is awakened with Alistair's body under its control.
Take care of your mother. I'm sorry. I failed you.
Father! Father!
I am God's accuser.
Serenity charges up the demon score for a powerful attack, but cancels it at the last moment, unwilling to kill her own father, leaving herself wide open for Satan's devastating blast.
Guess this is what a bear's gotta do to get some respect around here.
You snake!
Grow up sexy, Serenity. If I get my body back, I want to squeeze your cheeks.
David jumps in at the last second to take the hit and gets totally vaporized. Seeing David's death unlocks a new power within Serenity.
That's the power of love.
No, it's actually the power of Satan.
My name is Satan.
The demon score gives Serenity full access to Satan's power despite not having him in the app yet. With this newfound vigor, Serenity completely annihilates Satan and sends him back to hell.
The Messiah, forged of mortal hands. No!
Once all is done, a light with Dr. Alistair's voice flies out of Serenity's phone, congratulating her on completing the demon score. David, who suddenly isn't bits of particle dust, shows up and reveals that Dr. Alistair knowingly opened the gateway to hell in order to gain power. And with this power he was planning to ascend to godhood, using Serenity as his messiah to conquer the new world with a demon army. Serenity herself was just a lab experiment the Doctor created in order to wield the demon score. All of her memories of her life were fake, and according to David, she didn't exist up until a few days ago. Oh no, the guy that sent cryptic messages and messes with demon portals is secretly the villain. Who would have guessed? Serenity is given a choice to either side with David or Alistair.
Dad. No. You're not my dad! If man can transcend God's will, then I have the power to set my own course!
Serenity!
Go to hell!
No, don't be deceived.
Demon Score is quite an interesting game. Although YokoTaro wasn't responsible for writing the script directly, you can definitely tell that he punched up a few of the characters' personalities. The roles were so wacky and flavorful, which really helped the game stand out. And I can see a lot of attributes from these characters being incorporated into his future titles. The character designs are pretty cool too. Not so much the demons themselves, because they don't look all that inspired, but Serenity's transformations into the demons are appealing. Because they're all stylized categorized based off of the genre the demon is supposed to represent, but the demons and Serenity's costumes had 2 artists working on them, which explains why there's a huge shift in quality between the designs. And not throwing shade at the other artists that worked on this, there are some standout demon designs here, like Lilith as an Iron Maiden. I already talked about Elagos, he looks pretty cool. Berith has a nice visage, Satan looks metal as hell, and of course, this skull demon, it's just beautiful.
Beautiful.
Serenity is the innocent girl archetype, which is a good base for the different types of personality that's going to inhabit her mind.
Huh? Is this thing real?
Asmodeus is the loudmouth trash talker, which isn't incorporated into his music very well, but he's definitely a good juxtaposition to Serenity, and it really makes sense that he'd be the first boss.
The name's Lord Asmodeus, most powerful demon of them all. I'm fresh out of the abyss and ready to raise some hell!
Belial is, like I said, a tone setter. He sets you up to imply that there are demons with wacky personalities that you're going to meet on this journey. He's a funky guy who just wants to boogie down, and he's possibly a delightful homage to the Elite Beat agents.
Welcome to the dance floor! Been waiting all week for this, so let's get down to business!
Like I said with Elagos, he looks and sounds more important than he actually turns out to be, but he is definitely a calmer persona compared to the previous 2. Way more sophisticated and polite, and a bit avant-garde for a maestro of madness. Once again, look at him. Does he not look like he should be the penultimate boss or something?
Welcome to my recital of madness, Signora. With your help, my finale of despair shall be at long last complete.
Then we get back to super wacky with Azazel, a comedic interpretation of a luchador. Have you seen Lucha Libre? Have you seen Lucha Underground? That's basically what his personality is. He plays his role out like a typical wrestling match, which in itself is loads of fun to watch. And it's really cool to see him ham it up.
The ring! This is where we find release! I'm like a wounded beast! And you're the hungry wolf! Now sink your teeth into this loathsome man's throat!
Berith is by far the most serious or most disciplined sounding of the demons that you acquire, having more of an ego and an appreciation for skill. He's a bit out of touch, but there's a campy charm to his serious demeanor.
My blade thirsts for blood this night.
Never seen one like this!
I'll be sure to make a lasting impression.
Dantelion's personality is overly nervous gamer girl who is a reference to both Space Invaders and Final Fantasy. She's cute, despite her lack of self-confidence, and has a lot of determination, no, not that kind.
I'm not really the fighting type, but I'm up for a game or 2, and I don't intend to lose!
Beelzebub is a Japanese idol. She acts cute and innocent, but is completely different from Serenity. Almost completely oblivious to the severity of the situation. Also a little airheaded when making bubbly observations, but still fun and playful.
How's everyone feeling tonight? I'm Beelzebub, how's the #1 teen idol?
Then there's Lilith, a talking Iron Maiden that spews out poetic nonsense. Her personality is quite out there. Not quite on the same level as Beelzebub, but quite odd. She appears to be a little absent-minded, and judging from her costume, somewhat sadistic. But she has a lot of edge to her that definitely helps her stand out amongst the others.
Lilith! Lost wings, atone with blood.
Astaroth is elegant and haughty. She looks down on all beneath her and only cares about her own glory. She has the mannerisms of a royal knight and is brimming with ambition.
Now is my time. My millennial reign is near.
And lastly, there's Satan, who is the embodiment of evil, the ultimate nightmare that is the terror incarnate. He's also just a big dragon for Serenity to slay, but if it wasn't for the fact that her dad is fused to him, he'd be a pretty bog-standard boss fight.
Who hath dared wake me from my slumber?
Oh yeah, and it turns out that David was Lucifer all along, which means since he's the one who brought the book to Alistair, he's the mastermind behind all of this, and he just lost his memory when the demon portals opened up. Oh, don't worry, they subtly hint at it throughout the entire game, kind of.
The cunning nature of the serpent has not changed since the days of Eden.
And nowhere in the game is it implied that David was attracted to Serenity in any way, so his final comment to her kinda comes out of nowhere. The other demons also have cute nicknames for him, which is a nice touch.
Let us hurry, Signor!
Will you stop saying signore already? You're embarrassing me!
All of them are diverse and interesting in their very own way, making for some very interesting interactions. I guess I should talk a little bit about the gameplay. Now, as I've told you, Demon Score is a rhythm game, and a rhythm game is only as good as the music you play to. Songs that, by and large, should captivate you enough to continue playing, regardless of what your input devices may be. So if your music's great, you got yourself a good rhythm game. But if your music's not great, well then your music's just kind of not great. Demon Score leans towards the latter opinion. A lot of the songs in this rhythm game are not that great. They're not terrible by any means, but they're not all that catchy or memorable, and they sometimes don't fit in with the tone that was initially set up. Divorced from the actual game, the songs themselves are kind of alright. A little bit generic with their genre choices, but they do sound really nice. But when put to rhythm, when required to stay in rhythm with these songs, it just fails to work. I know there were a lot of Square employees that worked on the music, but it feels like they half-assed it here. After being forced to play levels over and over again, you kinda just get sick of hearing it. Also, some of the songs kinda don't match with the demon's design or personality. Take Asmodeus, for instance, who's supposed to be foul-mouthed and obnoxious. And his theme song has all these timpanis and triples and an excessive use of fiddles, and it sounds more like a tango, which really doesn't align well with his attitude of being a punk tough guy. Serenity's theme song sounds like it matches better with his punk-style persona. Same thing can be said about Lilith. Her design and attitude portrays her to be so surreal, and none of those ideas are at play with her music because it's all very soft and flat, like it's a ballroom dance or something. And as I said during the lightning round, you can pretty much guess what everyone's song sounds like. Generic disco, generic pop idol, generic Japanese, generic techno. Not telling a whole bunch of professional composers how to do their job, but when you're making a game like this with original songs, you want to hit them like... and give it the appropriate epicness that it deserves. And it doesn't really sound like anyone's heart was really into it given the final product. For songs in a game, the music is fine for when it's trying to set up an idea for these characters, but it's either too generic and thus forgettable, or it totally misrepresents the character that is on display. It's not bad, but I'm not going to rush out and buy the soundtrack anytime soon. Not that I could. Speaking of pay, there is another egregious thing Square decided to do with this game. You know how old mobile games charged you a fee before the free-to-play monetization model proved to be more profitable? Well, this game had a toll fee of $7 to $8. And once you defeat Asmodeus and get his costume, you are allowed to unlock other skins of defeated bosses. You can unlock them, but you aren't allowed to use them, because the game puts the rest of the skins behind a paywall. The main selling point of the game is being able to use the power of several demons, and it's locked behind a toll booth. 9 out of the 10 different characters with different soundtracks and possibly different endings are locked behind microtransactions in a game I already paid for. And that's not the worst part. This paywall is only exclusive to the Western versions of the game. Japanese players had to pay a slightly higher entry fee, and they get access to all the primary features with no extra pay required. And when you crunch the numbers on how much the Japanese players had to pay versus the Western player fee, you'll see that the Western players were charged more than the Japanese counterpart.
But why?
Seriously, what is it with Square monetizing us differently so that we pay more? This is really getting out of hand. And I'm pretty sure the Federal Trades Commission had a few words to say to Square about this. Now, some of the eagle-eyed viewers out there probably have picked up that I keep referring to this game in past tense, because Square took Demon Score off of all mobile platforms in December of 2014. No one can play the game anymore, which is a shame because I find the whole idea behind this game very enticing. The footage that you're seeing right now isn't even mine. It's a rip from a YouTube channel that no longer exists. And the crazy bastard not only bought all the transformations, but also completely maxed out their XP. If I hadn't downloaded these clips back then for the purposes of memeing, the complete story of this game would have been lost forever. This guy was the only one who has recorded footage of him completing the game. And the reason I say that there's possibly multiple endings is because the guy completed the game while in Astaroth's costume. And the game ends with Serenity being surrounded by demons preparing to march into the new world with an army. And this ending very much matches up with Astaroth's goals and personality. Matches up a little too well, which makes me believe that there are multiple endings to this game. I mean, I'm thinking about it and I don't really see the other bosses in this game sitting menacingly on a throne overseeing the destruction of the world. And when you really think about it, Astaroth is the only archdemon that came here with a plan in mind. Asmodeus, Azazel, and Berith came here to fight. Belial, Beelzebub, and Dantelion came here to play, Elegos came to read, and Satan and Lilith just kind of wandered in. This ending seems too well constructed based on Astaroth's personality, which leads me to believe that there are multiple endings. One for Serenity, and one for each demon that possessed her during the final boss. And they probably locked that behind a paywall. While I can't say much about the gameplay or the music, which is actually a huge problem, I find myself attracted to all the goofy characters and how they interact with one another. The bullet point reasons to get invested into a YokoTaro game. This is a part of Yoko's development history, and his first venture into the mobile gaming space just wiped from the books. I mean, he doesn't even talk about his involvement with this title ever. And the biggest review for this game, which is by IGN, has a bunch of totally non-agenda pushing opinions in it.
There's just one problem. Demon Score is weird. Demon Score is a lot of fun, but it's so strange that it's the only mobile game I've ever outright refused to play in public. Wait, what's the deal with that floating teddy bear? And why are there so many panty shots? And finally, why is she talking in a deep man's voice? Demon Score's incredibly strange and sexualized premise limit the game's appeal. Gamers that don't mind a weird premise and some repetitive gameplay will love Demon Score's musical gameplay.
A video game being weird is a negative selling point. You done messed up! Not exactly sure why the game reviewers had to harp on this particular aspect of the game. Sure, the camera seems to have a huge obsession with Serenity's butt, the voice acting is kind of weird and cheesy, and the costumes look like dejected sphere grid transformations, but these are elements that make the game unique. In fact, in my personal opinion, the cheesy acting and costumes add to the game, not detract. This is like one of the most out-of-touch game reviews I've ever seen, and it's not the only one.
Fuck you! Fuck you, fuck you! Fuck you!
Listen, I re-uploaded the whole playthrough on a different channel, so you can check it out for yourself if you're interested. There is a lot of jank and a lot of very weird stuff, but I guarantee you it's very interesting. And the art direction in this game is, shall we say, a bit inspired? That's not a bad thing or anything, it's just very clear that this game's aesthetics and story was lifted directly from Devil May Cry 3. A gun and sword protagonist defeats demons and gets their powers, while exploring an enclosed gothic-style environment, which culminates into a climax where it's discovered that one was being used by their father to gain demon powers. I mean, look at this final scene and tell me, nay, convince me that this isn't lifted directly from the Arkham subplot from Devil May Cry 3.
Don't be deceived by the imp's lies. Man's own free will has given him the power to create gods. I wish to be a god! And I sacrificed one miserable human being for that reason.
This entire concept sounds like a script for an anime. A girl having to live with multiple demon personalities, going on an adventure with a talking teddy bear to save her dad. It's just a shame to me that this game had to fall prey to Square's greed. And it was made with the utmost purest intentions in mind. Square was looking at the success of games like Infinity Blade and saw that mobile games with high graphical fidelity could be successful. And this was one of their first ventures into that. And they got their best composers and game designers to make something that would make headway into the rhythm game genre. And they had to fuck it up by taking advantage of the ignorance of the Western market. And it just kind of feels bad that this game is going to vanish into obscurity for those reasons. I am probably going to be the very last person to ever talk about this game, so I just wanted to let it be known that this game existed. And I really would hate it for the ideas in this game to just die. And this probably influenced Yoko quite a bit. For those of you who don't know, the original idea for Drakengard 3 was to take place in a contemporary setting, with the story being about a girl summoning a dragon through her phone. That's a very similar concept to what Demon's Score is. He also wanted to call it Drakengard 4 and have it be about piecing together the events of Drakengard 3, but that's neither here nor there. But I could never answer any of the questions I have for this game because I can't play it. There is absolutely no means for me to actually play this game to answer any of my questions. Are there multiple endings to this game? Were there any other Easter eggs present? I don't know. I can't play it. I can't get in contact with the game's designers or producers. The only person I can get in contact with is Enos executive producer Keiji Yano, and he really can't give me much of an answer to my questions. And seeing as though the English website is down but the Japanese website is up and running fine, I can only speculate that this game is still available in Japan, and I can't really confirm any of that either. My only hope is that somebody in the development of this game would step up and actually make something using the ideas presented in Demon's Score. These questions will probably never be answered, and I will probably be the last person to bring this game up ever. But you can guarantee that I'll be the first one to ever mention it when the topic of YokoTaro games come up, because I like this man's work, and at the very least I feel that this weird game, meant for weird people, would get a decent shout out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sentimental that way. I mean, from what I remember, the game wasn't exactly trying to break new grounds, but it was fun, and that's the whole point of games like Elite Beat Agents, Guitar Man, and Parappa the Rappa. And with the idea of a musician dipping his toes into the realm of game development, working in collaboration with an up-and-coming auteur, as well as a whole bunch of other gaming veterans, it seems to me that Square made their library a little less fun with this game's disappearance. Oh well. At least there's still Final Fantasy X too. Wow, this video was long. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you didn't, well, go ahead and just tell me to go kill myself in the comment section. But for those of you who did like the video for some reason, be sure to do the opposite of that and check out my other videos on this channel. Thank you guys for watching. Now go away.